of impacting the lives of 100 million people. And we are going to have a series of these, and we are later in the day, we are going to ask, later in this program, we are going to ask you, what are the topics on which, some of the suggested topics on which you would like us to talk about. You know that sleep is the mother of health and wellness. If we sleep better, all our parameters are helped. And if we don't, so my colleague Manisha is going to show you a presentation and also talk to you and take your questions. And without much further ado, I'll ask Pranav to say a few words and then over to Manisha. So thank you very much again for joining us.
Thank you, sir. So very good morning to everybody. Thank you again for joining us on a Sunday morning. We were debating whether we do this on a weekday or a weekend, and specifically a Saturday or a Sunday. So we said, okay, let's start with a Sunday morning. And then, of course, we'll take feedback from all of you as well, that for future webinars, do you prefer a Sunday or a Saturday or a weekday? So during this webinar, I'll just run you by quickly what is the structure of this webinar and what all we will be covering today. So, what happens when we don't get enough sleep? Everybody has their own personal opinion, but in this webinar, we'll be presenting some research data and facts and figures. And we've put together all this content from a lot of multiple sources from experts on sleep all around the world. So again, just a small disclaimer that we'll take up questions during the webinar and post that. But again, what we put together is a culmination of learning from the experts and putting together their research for you. So how much sleep does one really need? What is the science of sleep? And what happens when we are sleeping? So there are different stages of sleep, and we'll take you through what happens during each stage of the sleep. What are the common mistakes that we make that impacts our sleep quality? That is also something that we'll talk about. And then finally, what can we do to improve our sleep efficiency and sleep quality? What are some of the solutions that we can implement in our daily routine, daily life, which will help us sleep better and live better? So again, I'll request Manisha to take over from here, and she'll cover a lot of the content, and then we'll come back again during the end on some of the solutions that we all can implement. So over to you, Manisha.
Before I start, thank you, Pranav and Ajay-ji. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Before we start, we are going to have a small poll. Let's dive into that. I would like all of you to, it's just going to be there for 30 seconds. Please put in your answer right here. And it's so good to see the graph going up and down. Let's see, just another 20 more seconds, and then I will close the poll. So I'm closing the poll, just last 1 second. So here it is. And I'm sharing the result here. Can we see the result?
Yeah, interesting. And I guess that's what we would expect.
So great. Less than 6 hours, people who are sleeping, I'm going to talk a little bit about it, and we'll see how you will change. 6 to 7, very good. 53% are sleeping between 6 to 7. And 7 to 8 is fantastic, 18%. And more than 8 hours, very, very few. I come sometimes among those more than 8 hours, but 5% of the people who sleep. So going ahead with that, this is what the sleep research or sleep foundation talk about. Now, there are at different stages of our life, we need different, and obviously there is no magic number. This is maximum. When we looked around, this is what most of the researchers or sleep foundations are talking about it, each to their own. But if you see this, we really need around 7 to 9 hours of sleep in our age. Most of us here would have joined from the young adult to older adults. And more than 9 is not good, and less than 7 is also many times not good, but 6 is up to that you can go up to. So before going much into this, I'm going to dive into a lot of things. Obviously, we know sleep does a lot of good things, but I'm going to start with what happens when we don't get good sleep. And starting with a very important aspect of our life, our chemicals, which actually balances and make everything happy for us, is this. And we dive into hormone, and let's start from the most important hormone, what we call testosterone. And majority of men testosterone release happens during their sleep time. It's the hormone which we all know impacts our libido, but it also impacts daily motivation, drive, and body composition. So what happens when we sleep? Actually, 2015 study in Journal of American Medical Association said that extra 1 hour of sleep was able to increase 15% of testosterone release. And please note that this is what happens. Maximum release happens only at night. Sorry. And another study suggested that men who slept less than 5 hours had testosterone level of men 10 years older to them. So just sleep can age a man by a decade in that important aspect of their well-being. And that is not just stopping at men. It actually happens with women also. We have something called growth hormone. Again, that's important for our fat loss and benefit and associated with stopping muscle loss. This actually spikes highest during the deepest few hours of our sleep. And this is why the first few hours of our sleep is very important. And as I was telling you, female hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and thyroid, that also get buggered up if we don't get good quality of sleep and affects our metabolism and thyroid function. Cortisol, everyone knows, it's a stress hormone. I think so some of you would have heard about, which actually decreases when we are sleeping. And when we get up, it is actually at the peak. But problem happens when we take a lot of stress to our bed, and that cortisol hormone does not decrease, and it doesn't allow us to sleep. And that is a kind of a chicken and egg. If you have high cortisol, you don't get sleep, or if you don't get sleep, you also get high cortisol. And most important is our hunger hormone. And we all know we are all bothered about our weight, and we do multiple things to take care of our weight, but our hormone called leptin and insulin and many other hunger hormone is actually depending on the quality of our sleep. And if we don't get good sleep, actually that's first point where we start our weight gain journey, especially in the middle. Now coming to very, very important aspect of our body, which is our brain. So brain functioning and learning and memory. When I was doing research, I was shocked with this. In fact, yesterday, I couldn't sleep that many hours. And in the morning, it was playing on my mind that, am I going to perform today well? So this is something the sleep is important for, which is to remember. And that has been, research has been there for last 10 years, that if you learn anything and you sleep after that, that is important to save your memory. But what recent research also shows that if you don't sleep, then you are not able to learn any new memory. So what really happens in our brain when we do this? So is putting overnighter a very good idea? Let me go back, sorry. And this is something which there was a research done by Matthew Walker in his sleep lab, where he took all healthy human individuals, and one group he made them sleep for almost 8 hours, and the another group he didn't allow them to sleep the whole night. That is the overnighter. And then next day morning, they put each group into the MRI scan, measuring all their brain functioning, and gave them a lot of new facts and figures to really learn. And after, when they noticed all this MRI scan, they found that the people who did not sleep had 40% lower memory regain after when they checked it on this. So doing an overnighter is really no for your exam, because whatever you are going to learn, it's almost like acing in an exam or failing in an exam miserably. So this is something which we have to remember for our workforce as well as for our children, that overnighter actually doesn't allow your brain to function well. So what really happens? How does brain affects our memory, or sleep affects our memory, and retaining or saving that memory? This was something which was studied, that there is a center in our brain called hippocampus. Some of you, I'm not going to throw these words, but the idea is to just tell you the science behind it. It's called informational inbox of our brain, good at receiving new files and holding on to it. And what they noticed is a lot of healthy learning related activities happened in this hippocampus for the individual who slept for 8 hours. But significantly, actually 0 to nil activity happened for the people who did overnight. So effectively, no new experiences were actually communicated or recorded in our memory because of the lack of sleep. In fact, memory also have a learning ability enhancement and happens during the deepest stage of our sleep. And some of you would know about it. There is a burst of electrical activity called sleep spindles. And that's why deep sleep is very, very important. This deep sleep is the time when our memory from the reservoir, which is normal, it's like a save button. That is the time the save button really happens. So whatever you have learned in the day, the deepest time of the sleep is where we store it in a memory, and you can see it in the visual that it is stored. And whatever is not required actually is thrown out. So that's how we need, our brain is like a sponge. So whatever we absorb during the day, if we don't clean it at night, next day you are not going to absorb much. And that cleaning happens only in your sleep. So good sleep really restores and enhances our memory and cognitive function. So must for your brain and your cognitive function. Now, this is where a lot of research was done recently, in fact, 2013, that how sleep deprivation actually affect Alzheimer. And what I was talking about, cleaning your brain, in 2013, the scientists discovered that actually, like our body detoxes during lymphatic system of our body, detoxes our body, there is something called glymphatic system in our brain, which actually cleans our brain during night, because there are glial cells which actually cleans our brain. So deep sleep is the time when all the metabolic waste from the brain is actually getting washed. And one of those metabolic waste is what is called sticky protein called beta amyloid. That is the protein which is also known as Alzheimer protein. So if we are not getting good quality of sleep or not focusing on our deep sleep, then onset of Alzheimer is going to be more higher in people who have low sleep quality, which normally happens when you age, your sleep quality really reduces. But physiologically, we can't change those aspects of our cell and brain, but at least we can do few of the things which I'm going to talk about in the later part of my slides or a presentation, which is going to enhance your deep quality of sleep. So brain and memory, if that is not enough for you to actually start looking at sleep, I'm going to talk about some of other aspect, which is your heart health. So just with this global experiment, I'm going to explain how sleep is important for your heart. A global experiment was done on 1.6 billion people in 70 countries twice a year. And that some of you would know what is called daylight saving. 70 countries follow that. What they noticed that in the springtime, when they lose 1 hour of sleep, there was a whopping 24% increase in heart attack the next day. And in autumn, when the individual gained 1 hour of sleep, there was 21% reduction in the heart attack. So just 1 hour of sleep can have detrimental effect on our heart. And imagine we do this most of the time and we don't worry about it. And it's just not for the heart. They had done this research on the accident and the road accident as well as suicidal rate, and similar kind of graph really followed for those. So what really is, what is causing this suicide if we don't get good quality of sleep? Actually, sleep is very important for our emotional well-being. We all know there is a brain part called amygdala, which is responsible for our sleep, and it not sorry for our sleep, but emotional well-being. And this is the part which is actually very strong And it has all impulsive kind of behavior. If it is active, it will create that. But there's another part of our brain called frontal cortex. Normally, when we are asleep, this is the CEO of our brain, which actually governs everything. And it doesn't allow amygdala to function unnecessarily very high. But normally during REM sleep, frontal cortex actually is the lowest. With REM is rapid eye movement, where we dream. That's why during our dream, our emotions are really haywire. And actually, just with the lower quality of sleep or reduction in the sleep time, 60% rise in the working or the activity of amygdala. That's why when you don't get a good quality of sleep the night before, normally in the next day, you are very, very snappy. You are very emotionally vulnerable. You don't, you get emotional at a very small thing. So your pendulum of emotion is very, very high. Whereas when we get good quality of sleep, that pendulum flow is small and you get stability. Now, coming to something which we all are bothered about is our immune system. And there is something called natural killer cell, NK cell. This cell is like 007 agent of our immune system. And what you see here is the blue color NK cell, which is actually fighting our cancer cell. So these are good at identifying dangerous elements and destroying them. And in fact, this research was done in last 5 to 7 years. Earlier, people used to, or doctors used to treat cancer with something called T cells, which is again an immune cell of our body. But this cell is now known to treat cancer in much, much better way. So we would all wish that we have abundance of healthy sets of these killer cells. Typically, we don't get them when we lack sleep. So again, an experiment which was done on the individual who slept for 4 hours or less for just single one night, a whopping 70% drop in natural killer cell activity happened in the body. So short sleep duration actually is linked to some of the cancers, which now we all know: cancer of prostate, bowel, and breast. And this is so interesting. WHO has classified any form of regular now shift working to a probable carcinogenic section. So actually sleep is a major contributor to cancer. And this is a lot of epidemiological study across millions of individuals have shown that shorter your sleep, shorter your lifespan. And lack of sleep is predictive for all cause mortality. And we can see that because immune system, everything is getting affected by our sleep. So sleep deprivation can cause a lot of things. And I think so every aspect, it's some like Matthew Walker, who is the sleep researcher and has been doing sleep research on last, and he's written a beautiful book called Why We Sleep or Why Sleep. So if you get hands on it, please read it. This is what he says is the sleep is the Swiss knife of our health. And it affects every aspect of our health, from physiological to mental to emotional, so everything. So now coming to a little bit of science of sleep. So what really is sleep all about? So sleep has two aspects. One, what you may have heard about, what is called non-REM sleep, and one, what is REM sleep. So our sleep is divided in two parts. REM sleep, as the word suggests, is rapid eye movement. Normally, that is the time we actually dream. And if you notice that, sometimes if you notice for younger children, you'll notice that their eye movement is a lot there. So that is the time when we dream. But non-REM sleep is divided again into 4 parts, N1 to N4, where N1 and 2 are actually light sleep. And N3 and 4 are the deepest sleep. And during N1, that is the time when you go to bed, and sometimes while watching TV, you kind of just doze off and you get up. You will never remember that I really slept. Maximum, normally it is suggested that N1 should be not more than 5 minutes and going up to maximum 20 minutes. If you're N1, that is when you go to bed and you're not able to sleep is more than 20 minutes, then people and researchers suggest, please get up, get out of the bed, go out, do something. And when you feel sleepy, come back. So that is one thing. N2 is the time which we actually sleep maximum. it is around 20 to 25% of our sleep time is spent on N2, and the deepest kind of a sleep. So what happens in non-REM sleep? It restores and builds what we saw earlier, protein synthesis. It is the best blood pressure medication for you. So if you really want, you have a blood pressure or you don't want to have a blood pressure, actually having a deep sleep is your blood pressure medication, because that is the time where your heart rate is slowest, blood pressure drops. It is a cardiac reset of our body. And deep sleep not just does a lot of things physiologically, but contributes to creative and insightful thinking. The next day, if you really want to be visionary and want to do things, sleep is the key. REM sleep, what happens? REM sleep, actually, our body goes into what we call temporary paralysis. So that is why we are able to dream, and almost every muscle is in paralysis except our heart and except our eyelid muscle. That is our body's safety mechanism, that you don't start doing things about your dream. You don't start enacting your dream. Sometimes when that gets deterred, that is the time when people do sleepwalking or they get up and things like that. And this is the time when you sometimes have nightmares and you are able to get up. And this is the time actually your brain functioning is more than certain part of the brain is functioning more than what it functions during your awake time. So it's almost equivalent to your awake time. But this is the time when we restock our immunity. This is the time when we stabilizes our emotion. Why actually do we dream? Dream is something, whatever you have experienced today, during the dream, it is the time of our brain to really associate with old memories and try and create linkages and remove all the memories where they don't find linkages or it's not worth for you to store. So it's actually the best cleaning process. That's why that happens. And that's why sometimes you actually get a lot of ideas when we say, sleep on it. This is the time when people say sleep on it, because if you are not able to solve some problem, your brain during that time will try and connect with your past and other past experience and are able to come out with solution, which is important. So if you are not sleeping or getting good quality of REM sleep, that is the area which suffers. So this is just the chart I want to show you to give you an idea of what and when do you get deep sleep and when do you get dreaming sleep. Normally, each cycle lasts for 90 minutes to 2 hours. So every individual goes through anywhere between 4 to 5 cycles during the 8 hours of sleep time. Now, if we get up much before 8 hours, that means if we get up at 5 hours only, if you see last bit, your REM sleep is actually higher and higher during the last phase of your sleep. And deep sleep reduces during the last phase of sleep. So first few hours or 3 or 6 hours is actually where deep sleep happens. And last 4, 5, 6 hours is where 3, 4 hours is where your REM sleep happens. So if you get up, you do get up for the morning. If you just have 4 hours of sleep and you have to, because of various reasons, you have to get up, then you don't have that dreaming time and you don't have that memory consolidation time and you don't have that cognitive function for the next day to function. So enough about the sleep and what it can do, but let us go into what actually blocks our sleep. Many times we do it intentionally. Sorry. So that's the alarm for my thing. So many times we do it intentionally. That means a lot of people say, what do I take care of jet lag? But actually we do jet lag every weekend in our daily life. We don't sleep at night. So it's almost like body going through a jet lag. So even if you don't travel, many of us are doing jet lag every day. So what really interrupts our sleeps and what can we do about it is what I'm going to talk about now. So some of the things which is important is caffeine. So I was not aware, sorry for spelling mistake, but I was not aware about it. But caffeine has actually 6 hours of half-life and 12 hours of water life. That means if you have a caffeine or a coffee at 12 o'clock at night, you will have 1/4 of that caffeine actually at 12 o'clock during the midnight. So That's why we need to restrict coffee or caffeine in the first half of our wake time, which is anywhere between 4 to 5 hours after we wake up. And most of us, I used to feel the same because I did my architecture, stayed up a lot. So I could have coffee at night at 9 o'clock and just go off to sleep at 9:10. And I would never feel that coffee is really bad for me. But actually, the research shows that even if a small amount of coffee you drink at night, you may have a good sleep time, which is good enough, but there is a 20% decline in sleep, deep sleep, and the sleep where we do a lot of restoration work. Second is alcohol. So nightcap. All of us go, ki achhi neend aayegi, let's have a nightcap. So it does promote sedation, but a very, very fragmented sleep and unrefreshed in the morning. I know many of you would not like me by the end of this webinar, but these are the hard facts. And this is something I'm sharing, and I won't say I'm perfect, but this is something which is there for you to kind of look at it if you are struggling with sleep and if you want certain aspect of health, which we talk about. Second, very important, third, very important thing is light, which I'm going to talk a little more detail about it, and erratic schedule. Because we are today a dark deprived society. From the industrial civilization or revolution, I think so with the light, we feel we can do anything, anytime. Our ancestors were much better who couldn't do anything. It actually confuses our body clock. Why? Because every organ in our body is inside our body. Through eye, they get to know what time of the day it is. And if your eye gives the erratic signal, then it's a problem. And I'll talk about what problem it is, which is the melatonin of the body. Invasion of tech in our bedroom. I think so we all know that. But more important with invasion is something called blue light. Blue light is equivalent to almost the day's light. And that is actually giving our body different signal, and our melatonin doesn't get secreted. And melatonin is one of the hormone which is actually induces sleep. And I will tell you more about it, why and how, because melatonin is something which is the only hormone which is a sedative hormone. And that when this sends the signal to the brain saying ki it's a nighttime, that is the time our pineal gland gets activated and it secretes melatonin, which makes us sleep. So if you're still watching this, and this was the research was done, that's half an hour of iPad time just before your sleep actually delayed melatonin secretion by 3 hours. And also it delayed, not just delayed, but 50% reduction of melatonin secretion. And third aspect and fourth aspect, whatever aspect, is electrosmog. So many of you would be knowing that we are basically a company where we look at electromagnetic emissions in our environment. And electrosmog is something which we have really worked a lot. Electrosmog is the smog which is created by all our digital communication devices and electronic gadget next to us. What we found is that if you are sleeping, which most of us are, because you have TV, you have your routers, you have, even if you don't have routers, you have next door neighbors up and down routers next to you. Or sometimes if you have a tower next to you, it's going to have the kind of environment which we call electrosmog. And this actually also hampers our sleep. Some of our research shows that there is something called sleep efficiency. Sleep efficiency is the time you are actually, if you go on bed for 8 hours and if you sleep for 7 hours, then 1 hour you lost. That is the time it is not, that means your sleep is not efficient. So actually it increases electrosmog, decreases our sleep efficiency phenomenally. And I'm going to tell you some of the reasons why in later part of the slide. But it is important that we protect ourselves from this invisible threat to our sleep. And the last but not the least, the place of sleep. So a lot of us really bother when we don't sleep, we change our mattress, we change our pillow, we change a lot of things. But sometimes we also feel this, yahan to mere ko bahut achhi neend aati hai, yahan nahi aati hai. Or many of you will say, since the time I moved to this room, I just can't get good enough sleep. So it's actually, there is a phenomena which is evident there. And this phenomena is what, as an architect, I did a lot of research on. where is the place of sleep? There are a lot of ground stresses which actually can hamper our sleep. And that I'm going to show you. This is called Geost Stress. This was first time discovered in Germany way back in 1940s, where some of the scientists called Hartmann and other scientists found there are strong radiation-like walls emanating from ground. And they call them geostress because they emanated from geo and called stress in the body. Imagine you are sleeping on this bed for long hours, which is 7-8 hours every day. This actually affects the vibrational frequency of our cell. So long-term exposure can actually result into various health issues. In fact, research has shown 90% correlation between cancer and exposure to this geopathic stress. But that's the extreme case. But short-term effect is fatigue, sleep quality disturbance. In fact, we have done now more than 1,500 homes. And in 70-80%, we find that this is one of the reasons when you can't get good sleep. And sometimes we say, na, aap is diagram mein dekhoge, if one person, that line is denoting geopathic stress line. If one of your partner is sleeping on a geopathic line and you are not sleeping on it, and many times you say, mujhe to bahut achhi neend aati hai, tumhe nahi aati hai. So this could be one of the reasons from many reasons it is. So these are some of the reasons. You may be able to take care of some, you may not be able to take care of the some. But idea is as many as you can take care to enhance your sleep timing and sleep efficiency and the quality of sleep. It is important. Now let's get into what all can we do to improve our sleep. So many of the things I have talked about, opposite of that is actually true to improve our sleep. But let's dive into. First thing is your body clock, what we know as circadian rhythm. Everything in your body functions with that, and especially the sleep and awake time is actually governed by your circadian rhythm. And this is first thing. If you are not getting good sleep or you want to get good sleep, first 90 minutes of after waking up, please step out and take photons from the sunlight in your eyes. That photon is very, very important. We normally say कि हम तो light तो जला लेते हैं ना room का, we get night light, you get white light. But actually this photon is very, and I can see Mr. Karan Mehta, I'll just, after this, maybe we will get into question and I'll ask you what your doubts are. Let me just complete another 5 minutes. I will stop and then we can get into this. So this is very important. Take morning sun, and not just morning sun. Actually, what you do in the evening before you get inside your home is also important. So evening sun also makes your brain know that it is now the evening time. And how? Because morning में तो sun होता है तो जगा देता है हमें, evening में होता है तो वो हमें तैयार करता है सोने के लिए. कैसे? And you would notice that actually the frequencies in the morning sun is very, very different from the frequency, the amount of frequency, because you will see more oranges, more subdued frequency, whereas in the morning you'll see the yellows and the brights and the blues of the sky. So this is one thing, and this is something which is actually what we call is SCN in our brain, which is Suprachiasmatic Nucleus. This is the hypothalamus in our brain actually is, or SCN is basically the main body clock of our body. So this is actually governs not just your sleep wake time, but it also governs every other functions in our body. In fact, the moment you get up, your cortisol levels need to be the highest. And that's how your body temperature actually rises. And that's why all this is governed by this body clock. And if we need to also start our other hormone functioning like glucose, triglyceride, because that is something which is going to be utilized for your digestion. All this only happens when we make through our eye, through our actually the visual aspect of our body. And if we get this visual aspect haywire, that's where the problem starts. So main importance, I would say the thing for the sleep is sleeping in the dark. So I don't know if some of you, many people, I used to sleep with some light on because I used to feel a little scared, but that is not good for us, because This sends the signal to our hypothalamus pineal gland that it is not still night, and the melatonin secretion decreases, and the delay in your sleep will happen. So that is very, very important to have the regularity. Sleep on the same time, get up on the same time, and including weekends, because your body doesn't recognize as weekend and weekdays. Keep it cool. Your room temperature should be cooler, because when our body is cooler, that's the time we get good sleep. During sleep, our body temperature dies, and that's where we actually get good sleep. So hot water bath, that's why it's very, very good when people don't get sleep. You go for hot water bath, because with the hot water, your body temperature actually becomes lower. And exercise and being active throughout the day. It actually releases adenosine. There is a chemical in our body which is called adenosine. As the adenosine builds up during the day, and as much adenosine you are accumulating, that is the quality of sleep you will get. Very important. Devices away. I've spoken about it, but I used to earlier talk about only 15-20 minutes away from your devices. But now when I did research, I found nowhere they were compromising. It was minimum 60 minutes. I've written 30 minutes here just so that we can start doing something about it. And light food, we all know that. And whenever you are going to sleep, those 15-20 minutes, if you can relax your body by whatever way you want to do, by reading, and when I say reading, please avoid your iPad for reading, do the book reading, go back to that yellow light. Yog Nidra, people who can't sleep, actually Yog Nidra is very, very good for people. In fact, people who meditate, that's why they don't need so much sleep, because Yog Nidra or meditation or these relaxing exercises actually makes our sympathetic nervous system active, and that induces a much deeper sleep. So that's why some of these can be beneficial for anyone who's not able to sleep. Or sometimes when people get up at night and then they can't sleep, actually just download one of the Yog Nidra or NSRT technique, listen for 10 minutes and you will get sleep. And if you practice it for a couple of days, by the end of the week, you will be successful. So introducing some of our things which you actually can use to enhance your sleep. And we have done a lot of research on sleep. And just to give you this idea that almost all our sleep wellness products actually can enhance your sleep efficiency by 7 to 9%, various product various in different places. And I'll take you quickly through, or maybe Pranav can take you through that. But idea is, I'll just give you a comparative idea. Melatonin, what you found is important. Some of the people who have a sleep problem, doctors give them melatonin. And actual dose is 0.2 gram to 0.8 gram or something every night. You can take for a couple of nights to get good. Or some people take it for jet lag. You know that melatonin, what kind of sleep efficiency it improves? Just 2%. Whereas if you actually take care of electrosmog and geost stress in your room, it can improve your sleep efficiency by 7 to 9%. And what it really means to us in layman person, 30 minutes of lesser, or I would say 30 minutes, half an hour, 7% means half an hour. So in fact, if you go to bed for 7.5 hours, you'll get 7.5 hours of sleep. So you can do with less time in the bed and get better sleep. So Pranav, if you like to take them through.
Thank you, Manisha. So, Manisha talked about a lot of solutions which you can implement yourself. She gave about 6 to 8 things: eating light, exercising, Yog Nidra, all of that. At Environix, as most of you may know, that we've been working in the space of developing solutions to improve the health and well-being of people. And of course, implementing some of those solutions for organizations also who are employing large number of people. But in the last few years, when talking to a lot of doctors and medical practitioners, what we have learned is that sleep is the beginning and end of all. If you can sleep well, you can take care of 80 to 90% of any health challenges which may occur in the future. So last few years at Environix, we've done a lot of research and development on developing solutions which actually improve your sleep efficiency or sleep quality. And some of the brands and products that we have, which we've got patented also, and some of the new ones we've applied for the patent, are actually working in this sphere and this area. And we've collaborated with some of the leading medical institutions like AIMS, Apollo, Medanta, and Max, Wokhard as well. So a lot of our solutions, we've done joint research with all these medical institutions, done a lot of clinical trials on human subjects, subjected them to sleep, non-sleep with and without some of our products like EnviroChip, EnviroGlobe, EnviroMat, EnviroCare. So these are some of the products that we have been developing and of course selling in the market. These are available, of course, on online marketplaces. Organizations are buying in bulk. So of course, I won't get into details of these slides of how much percentage improvement with what all. We would like to keep it interactive. But the purpose of doing today's webinar was, of course, one was to spread more awareness that why is sleep so important for us. Some of the tips and tricks, DIY tips that you can do. But if you can't do some of them or most of them, we wanted to gift you sleep from our end, gift you a box of goodies or things that you can, which can help you passively. If you can't do it, then you can just fix and forget these things in your home, in your bedroom, on your devices, and they will let you sleep better, as tested by all these medical institutions. So what we wanted to do as a special gesture from our side today was to give you a kind of a never before offer from our side. That if you were to look at some of these solutions, I'll put it in the chat box, some of the links that you can go on these individual solutions that we have. I would recommend that go and read a little bit more about these different solutions. And then if you wish to purchase it for yourself, for your family members, for your work colleagues, you can do that. And only for today, we thought let's do something special from our side. Only for today, we are going to give you a kind of a special promo code where you will be able to get some of these solutions at 65% discount. This will be valid only for one day. So I would recommend that please do have a look. Please do read more about that. And if you wish to get that, you can get that today by availing 65% discount. So I'm just going to put that in the chat box for everyone's benefit. Don't worry about copy pasting this. If you can't, you will also get a WhatsApp post the webinar today in some time with these links and with all of this. So in case you are not able to click on this or copy paste this, doesn't matter. You will get this on WhatsApp as well post the webinar. So do read more about these solutions, which you can see what each of these things do. So there is EnviroGlobe, which is a product that you can keep in your bedroom. Tested by AIMS and Apollo. There's a new product that we've developed, which is called EnviroMat, which can be put under your mattress on top of your bed frame. And again, these have been tested by AIMS and Apollo and various other people. And of course, we have EnviroCare and we have EnviroChip. EnviroChip, some of you may be aware of, you might also be using it on your devices. But you can go in specifically on these links, click on these links, which I've put in the chat box, and get it for yourself and for your family and other friends and family at a very special discounted rate. Sleep 65 is the discount code which you can enter only for today and get this for you. So I would recommend that please do so and have a look at that.
Just a little bit about our company. As Pranav has spoken about it, this is our mission to actually maximize wellness in every aspect of your life. And we feel proud that we have made difference to around 6 million lives and actually made many sleep rooms healthier and workspaces healthier for people to live or work in. And the mission is also not just to make people individually, but to sustain our sustainability goals. So we do help organizations achieve their sustainability and ESG goal. And this is our mission. And we love to invite you to be part of our wellness mission or be our wellness ambassador, where we want to enhance lives of around 100 million people in 2024, which is humongous rise in the number from where we have achieved till now. But we hope to achieve it with all your help and all of you being our